I'm Dave Rosengrant. This week we are chatting with Kyle Reed, owner and head instructor at NEPA MMA in Edwardsville. NEPA MMA offers a variety of programs and classes including kids martial arts, adult martial arts, cardio kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, summer camps, after-school programs, and so much more. Also, we have a promotion currently going on with NEPA MMA and a podcast run by NEPA MMA called NEPA Inspired. The current promotion we have going on is that if we at NEPA SportsXtra and NEPA Inspired, two upstart podcasts, by the way, if both pages reach 500 likes on Facebook, one family will get a free 6-week trial membership to NEPA MMA. Or, if both pages get to 1,000 likes, the offer will be doubled. So we'll be giving away 2 6-week trial memberships to NEPA MMA if both pages, NEPA SportsXtra and NEPA Inspired, both get to 1,000 likes on Facebook. This promotion will end on June 1st, 2021. So you have some time, got 3-4 weeks here until that time to try to get things, to try to boost or try to help us out. And you'll be helping out a family in need. So please go to our page, NEPA SportsXtra and NEPA Inspired. There's a post there that you can share and help us get the word out about 2 up-and-coming podcasts in NEPA. And now, without further ado, here was my chat with Kyle Reed, owner and head instructor at NEPA MMA. Kyle, thanks for joining us. We're here at NEPA MMA with Kyle Reed.
How we doing?
Good. Give us a little information about NEPA MMA, like classes and age groups and things like that.
So our program is anywhere from 4 years old to pretty much as long as you can still move around the floor, you're able to be here and train. Our classes are broken down by age group though, and then as they get older, we break them by ability level also. So like our 4 to 6 year old program, and then we have a 7 to 12 year old beginner program, which is for our students that are just starting out within their first 6 months of training. And then from there, they get broken up into belt ranks. So for our yellow and up group, they go into the 7 and 9 year old if they're in that group, or if they're 10 to 12, they go into the 10 to 12 year old yellow and up group, just to kind of keep the new guys that are coming in very comfortable and don't feel overwhelmed, but also our older students making sure they're not feeling like they're repeating the same thing and kind of evolving in their training. Along with those, we do have our adult martial arts program, adult and teen classes. So we have our adult karate program, which I'm the instructor there, along with we have another 2 instructors that help out. And then we have our children's jiu-jitsu program, which we start them at 7 also, because the reason we start them at 7 is we just want them to have a little bit more focus and discipline. It's a little more self-sufficient class, along with our adult jiu-jitsu and our adult kickboxing programs. So we got a lot of different age groups and a lot of different programs. So if one doesn't fit you, we probably have another one that you can find home in.
Now, when I think MMA, I think UFC, and I think like Ronda Rousey and Chuck Liddell, all those kinds of people. But so how does this coincide with that, so to speak?
That's my favorite question I get on the phone call is, am I going to learn MMA? Or am I going to do MMA? MMA is the umbrella of everything. Everyone thinks MMA is the actual technical sport. They forget that it's broken down into different styles or different arts. So here we have our karate background, which I've developed our Shotokan. I spent 14 years learning Shotokan martial arts. For those who don't know, Shotokan is more of a stand-up, a striking style, punching style. And then I developed and I started training with a new instructor who was Taekwondo based. So that for those that's a kicking style. So I took my punching style of Shotokan and I took my kicking style from Taekwondo and kind of merged that into the karate program that we have here, along with adding in our kickboxing for our stand-up adults, and then our jiu-jitsu on the ground is kind of what develops our MMA aspect of it. Because to the general population, no one likes to get punched in the face. No one says, I enjoy getting punched in the face, or I want to go get punched in the face. So some guys just want to come in here, or kids just want to come in here and train and learn. We do have some guys in here that want to fight. I myself have done 2 fights. We have 2 of our instructors who have done fights also. So if you want to come in here and be a recreational mixed martial artist and just train, that aspect is definitely here for you. If you want to take it to the next level and be a competitive mixed martial artist, we can also service those needs and make sure we direct you into that path of that training aspect of it.
I'm kind of familiar with it myself. Like, so when you say mixed martial arts, it's mixed,
yes, exactly.
And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. They just think MMA, UFC, but like you said, it's an umbrella of a whole bunch of things.
Definitely, especially the growth of UFC has drastically changed from UFC 1 to, I think they just had UFC 264. When they first started, they would label like guys' backgrounds, and it would be like Street Fighter or Bar Fighter, or they were specifically karate, Shotokan, jiu-jitsu. Now you see guys in there, they label them as mixed martial artists because they either have black belts in karate, black belts in jiu-jitsu. They train under all these different things. So now it just becomes easier to label you underneath as a mixed martial artist instead of kind of, oh, this guy's just a karate guy or this guy's just a jiu-jitsu guy kind of thing.
Do you have a favorite MMA artist or fighter, I guess?
So I do. I'm make it a little back. Two of them, 2 maybe very controversial guys in the sport. I'm a huge Conor McGregor fan, and I'm a huge John Jones fan. Reason being for Conor McGregor, not only what you see on TV is not truly the Conor McGregor. I have friends from Ireland who have trained with him, who know him, who have met him, and say that's not him. It's all the theatrics that help him get his paycheck. There's a reason why he was the highest paid UFC fighter ever, because of what he was able to do. Mm-hmm. But his intellectual ability inside the cage was far more impressive than I think most guys ever understand. His able to analyze the fight and what's happening in front of you and be able to adapt and change. That's kind of why I liked McGregor. Even though he was very one-sided in his striking, his jiu-jitsu, his ground game was average, but he was able to just stand in front of you and pick you apart and make you feel like you couldn't like you were hitting a ghost. And then I like John Jones, and I think John Jones is definitely one of the greatest of all time to do it. Not for what he did outside. I don't commend anything he's done outside. But inside the cage, he was one of the best strikers. He was an Olympic wrestler, and he was just a beast. I think that's the only way I can describe him, is just guys couldn't touch him. He was just so much stronger, so much more athletic. And I mean, I think it comes from the genes. I think both of his brothers play in the NFL. So you have 2 brothers who play in the NFL, and you're a UFC fighter. Those genes are pretty good running through that household.
Yeah, no kidding. Do you mimic yourself after anyone?
So my style is more like guys of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, a new guy. I shouldn't say new. He's been around a while, but he was in Bellator kickboxing, is now making his Bellator MMA kind of statement, is Raymond Daniels. So I developed my style kind of off of their footwork, their distance, and they were karate guys. So they used that into their MMA world, which a lot of MMA fighters don't ever understand, is their footwork. They're able to create distance, take distance away very quickly, where you see a lot of MMA guys have that stocky walk forward, I want to stand in front of you kind of, you punch me, I punch you mentality, mm-hmm. where these guys are on the perimeter, hitting you, sticking and moving, and then when they have that opportunity for that big shot, they take advantage of it. So that's kind of where my style kind of falls into.
And how did you get into, starting NEPA MMA? How did that kind of evolve?
So I managed a martial arts school from the age of 17 to about 20, roughly just before I turned 20. And I got word that they were closing doors. And I kind of felt like this was happening, like before it ever happened. So what I did was I created NEPA MMA as an LLC before anything happened, just for in a case of emergency plan, just so I had somewhere to take my students, and I didn't want them to feel like they were being abandoned. So 2014, we opened MMA, our NEPA MMA. Before that, though, me and my father, we drove around for days, weeks, trying to find a spot, a location that we felt like we can grow the business and we can make it happen. And we ended up on the back road of Luzerne and Courtdale Ave in this warehouse that most people would never, if you drive past it, you wouldn't even know we were there. I used to call it the hidden gem in the back. And we went into this location, and it was massive, huge. It was 5,000 square feet, way bigger than what most people would walk into and say, like, this is how I want to start. After walking through it, my father looked at me and said, I don't think this is the one. I turned to my father and I said, yes, it is. He goes, I just don't think it is. I said, Chuck, with all due respect, you have trusted me in this journey this long. We're going to make it happen. He said, all right, if you say it, let's sign the lease and we'll start the ball rolling and we'll make it happen. So we ended up signing the lease in February, and then we opened up in March. So when we signed the lease in February, I exactly had 5 weeks to get mats. Paint, I had to clean, so they were very long, endless hours of manual labor that I was not used to. I was a karate guy. I tell people I punch and kick for a living. I'm not a painter. I'm not a contractor. A lot of the things were learned on that time period, but I know I had a goal. I know I had a dream, and I know I wanted to make a place for my students to come back to and feel like Sensei didn't just leave them out on the streets with nowhere else to go. So that's kind of why I started and how I started it. 2014, so we just passed, this will be year 7, we're approaching year 8 of NEPA MMA.
And now you're over here in Edwardsville. There any differences between this location and the last location?
Absolutely. So when we were at our last location, we had 5,000 square feet. And after about 2.5 years, they had a space right next door to it that was linked up, and it was another 2,500 square feet that we ended up taking over. So we had a total of 7,500 square feet. We had 2 rooms. We had 2 massive training floors over there, but it was just a wide open warehouse. There was no dividers. Everyone was in there and kind of just packed in there kind of thing. When we found Edwardsville, one of the parents from the school, actually, their father owns this building, and they were like, hey, you should go check out my dad's spot. And I was like, I didn't even know it was open for rent. So we ended up walking through it. We still had our lease over there, so it was get out of class at 9 o'clock, come over here, tear down walls, paint walls, throw things in the dumpster. It was double tasking 2 buildings at the same time. And then we moved over here. We ended up giving up 2,500 square feet, but we managed to gain more rooms and more dividers for classes. So we lost in one end, but we gained in a huge beneficial. The parents now have their own set lobby. The karate guys have their own set floor. I have my own. Most people would call it an office. Right now it's a storage closet. I lost privilege to that. Then we have our own after-school room along with a summer camp room. And then all the way in the back room is our MMA guys. So that way our kids and adults are separated. They're not training at the same time. I don't have to worry about adults and kids on the floor. They have their time. Their adults have their room. And it kind of worked out way better than anything I had anticipated.
You've been doing this for a long time. Have you ever had any kids who started off in the 4 to 6 year old program and have gone all the way up?
Yes, absolutely. My first 3 black belts, they started with me when they were 5 years old, and they trained with me at our first location where I got my black belt. And then when I went to manage my second location, they ended up following me to that location. And then when that location, and we opened NEPA MMA, they followed me a third time. So they were very, very loyal. So they followed me all the way till their black belt. Now they're older. Probably one's 26, really making me feel old here. And the other two are in college still. And currently we have 6 that are going to be going for their black belt in the next 2 years that have started in the 4, 5, and 6-year-old program and have just been rocking with us ever since. So it's been incredible. I was just talking with this parent the other day about how old the kids are looking. Like from when they first came through my door to now, the voices are getting deeper. They're getting taller. They're almost as tall as me. They're going to high school. Like, it's just crazy to see that journey and that progression. And I'm glad that I get to be a part of it the entire way.
So here's a double-ended question for you. Number one, how do you keep the kids interested for that long? And how long does it take to go from beginner in 4 to 6-year-old class to a black belt?
So I'll start with the second part of that question. How long it takes. That's the easier of the two questions. So we have age requirements for all of our belts. So before they can earn a yellow belt, which is, so I'll kind of rewind for a second. Our 4 to 6-year-olds go through half belts. So they go through all white with yellow to white with orange, green, blue, purple, red, black. And once they complete that, or they turn 7, they can earn the rank of yellow belt. And then they continue to train. They cannot earn a full black belt until the age of 16. They can earn a junior black belt before that. It's just an age requirement that I put in play because I want my black belts to be able to do what I do and hold them to the same standard. And a 10, 11, 12-year-old don't understand that yet. When they start getting 14, 15, 16, they start driving, they have responsibility, and they know that transition to kind of treating them more like an adult happens. So that's it's usually about an 8-year process, though, from straight white to all the way to junior black belt or black belt, depending on when your time frame you start. Now, keeping them interested really, I feel, is 2 main factors. Maybe a little bit of the child, but I think it goes into the instructors and the parents. Those 2 things. If we as instructors continue to make that environment fun, exciting, and learning at the same time, even if they're doing the same punch that they did when they were white belt, but finding a new way for them to do it or drill it, and it's something exciting for them, it allows them to continue to want to come back. So our job as instructors is not to make class very boring. And I know sometimes we do get in that tendency where it's basic review day and the kids go, basic day. We all have those days, but just keeping that high energy in class and your wanting to be there translates to them wanting to be there more. But also to the parents aspect too, most parents never in their life did karate. They mostly did baseball, soccer, football. So it's easy for them to feel more engaged when it comes to karate or to baseball, football, and soccer because it's something they related to or they've done, whereas karate is something it's just their children have kind of engaged into. So the more involved parents can find themselves in martial arts, even if it's not doing martial arts, practicing or just making sure they stay on that schedule of coming to class twice a week and making it exciting for them to come to class and not like it's a job for class is kind of how I kind of see how that fall off works on that end. Well, little Johnny doesn't want to go today. I know I was there. My mother was the first one on my martial arts journey who would take me to class for the longest time. And then when I turned like 12 or 13, her and my father switched roles, and my mother took my sister. All of her places, my father took over. But if I didn't want to go to class, she would drive me to class and make me tell my instructor that I didn't want to train today. And you know how many times I told my instructor I didn't want to train today? 0. Because I didn't want to have that conversation. I knew I had a commitment to him. I knew I had a commitment to my parents. And even when I started when I was 6, if I didn't want to go when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, she would drive me to the school and, okay, you go tell sensei. I don't want to. Okay, well then you have one option. Guess you're going to class then. So that's kind of how I see that plays out.
One of the things I think of, and I think a lot of people when they think of karate, Cobra Kai.
Yes.
Not so much that aspect of karate or anything like that, but the tournament aspect and the events. Do any kids here get involved in tournaments or events like that? Absolutely.
We do have a competition team filled with 16 members. They're handpicked from the school, kind of just how they train a regular class. If they come in, they always want to work, they always want to train, and they're always focused on class. We tell them, hey, you know what, we're interested in you joining the competition team. Come in, take a look at it, see if it's something you're interested in, and if it is, then they can. Right now with COVID, our tournament season last year we didn't even get started. These poor children that we have, they train, our season ends in November. So they trained all the way November, December, January, February, and get ready for tournament season to start at the end of March. And March came in, everything was then shut down. So they kind of lost that whole season and that whole 4 months of prep work that we kind of put into building their forms, their katas, their weapons forms, and just their actual training. Not that it didn't go to waste, but for children, they need that sense of result. I'm working for something or that goal. So it kind of was a little rough on them. But our tournament season, they actually created what they called virtual tournaments for us. So just like Zoom, the children were able to Zoom in or record themselves doing their form or their katas, and they would be able to submit them in. They would be judged, and then in the mail they would receive either a medal or a certificate for how they placed in that tournament. So they were able to kind of engage that way. Right now, we have one competitor that really, he's on actually a sponsored team now, Team Revolution. His name is, we call him Nate Dogg. He competes actively. I think he's got a virtual tournament right now, almost every week, if not every other week. Last year, he was nationally ranked in 3 of his 4 divisions. So he does very well. And years previously, we've had, the year previous to that, we had 4 national champions in our school that are under the age of 16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
impressive.
They do a lot of traveling. They travel up and down the East Coast, all the way from Canada, all the way down to Florida. And then some of us have even gone, I personally have gone to California for events. None of them have gone yet, but we're working on it for them.
What's one of the biggest ways that COVID affected you over the last year?
COVID affected us, well, one, obviously student count. Not being able to see students, being parents, just not being able to having a place to bring their children caused us to lose almost over 45% of our clientele during that. So it definitely crushed us in that aspect. But just that personal engagement that we have with the kids, like coming in and seeing them, greeting them, talking with them, whatever it may be, whether they got a splinter that day at home, like just hearing stories for me was the worst part, like not being able to have that kind of engagement with them. We did create virtual classes for them, and our members who were logging in, I still got to see them, I still got to engagement, but it wasn't how I built NEPA MMA. We built NEPA MMA off of this family environment that we want you to feel like you're part of us Reeds. And that kind of disengaged us a little bit from that. But when we were over COVID, we wanted to keep that same environment going. So we did a couple different things. Every week we would donate a dinner, a pizza and wing dinner to a family. So we would put all the names in a random name selector. A family would get selected. I would send them a message, say, hey, dinner's being delivered today at 5:30. So we would deliver pizza, wings, and then that grew to the families who were getting pizza would actually give me money to buy more families pizza. So at one week, I think I drove around 4 different families food. And like that environment that we were able to create in this, I don't want to say negative time, but this downtime that we were feeling, that everyone still felt some way connected with each other.
Have you been able to grow back a little bit? Get back some of that 45%? Absolutely.
We're functioning probably about 85%, 90% now, so which is a huge, huge increase. But it really lies on, I don't like being the leader. Like, I like being the leader, but I don't like taking the label as the owner or that guy. But it really falls in how I handle the situation. I could have laid down and played dead and let this really crush me and crush what I built. Or I can gather my team together and say, hey, you know what? We were knocked down. We're fighters here, so we got to come back out fighting even harder than we did before. And my team that surrounds me, my leadership team, my assistant instructors, my other instructors, they have jumped on board, and we just have been just hammering away and making sure everyone that comes through this door feels like they're not just getting martial arts classes, they're getting martial arts classes and then some. Because so many times you pay for what you get for. What a lot of people say is, oh, you pay for what you get for. No, I don't want you to pay for what you get for. I want you to pay for what you get for and get more out of it.
You do a lot for the community, too. Your trunk or treat and haunted house and lines a mile long, Easter egg hunt you had here. How much pride do you take in helping the community like that, doing community events like that? And do you have any other big events in mind that you want to do for the community?
Absolutely. So being a part of the community is what builds us. If you're, for what I do or what we do here, if you're not involved in the community and you're not doing well or doing right, you're just another business, another school. So it's not just a way to stand out, but I want you to feel connected even if you're not here. I want you to feel welcome with every event that we do, any event that we do, anything that goes on inside the school. Anyone and everyone is welcome, no matter what you do for whatever you do outside of here. And I kind of developed that aspect in 2015. So in 2015, of the first year, I had exactly 30 students. Now, and I'll tell you, my rent was $2,500 a month, and at that point, I was charging $100 a month. So I was making $500 a month for my first year. So coming out of year one, I sat down on my couch, and I felt beaten. I felt like I just did 12 rounds with Tyson. Like and I sat and I said, I couldn't figure it out. I can't figure out what I'm doing wrong. So I sat in front of my computer, and I studied. I studied other martial arts schools. I studied other businesses. I studied what the greats were doing. I studied anyone that was doing anything for good in this world. I wanted to know how, and I wanted to know why. And then I developed the trunk or treat. The reason I developed the trunk or treat was my grandma, as she gets older, she couldn't decorate the house anymore. Loves Halloween. My mother hates Halloween, so she hates the house being decorated. But my she goes up to the spirit store, loves all the decorations. So I said, why don't we turn the karate school into a haunted house and have a trunk or treat? She was like a kid in a candy store, going up to the spirit store, getting all these decorations, all this, all that. And the first year we did it, we saw about 1,000 people come through. And I looked at her at the end of it, and I was like, this is insane. We were not expecting this type of turnout. I was expecting 100, 200 people. I didn't think anyone knew really of us. Mm-hmm. And then it continued to grow, and I wanted to know, all right, there's other holidays, there's other events that we can do. So then we developed an Easter egg hunt. We used to do it inside the school because we had a big floor and a big area, so we were able to hide eggs all the way around and everyone come in and do it that way. This year, the Edwardsville Borough actually let us use the parks down the street. So we were able to hide 10,000 eggs in the park down the street, and that line to get in was probably about just as long as a trunk or treat, if not more. And we have bounce houses, we have food stands, we have an event, and we don't charge anything for the actual event. Everything is free. So all the eggs I buy or donate it. All the candy is either I buy or donate it. Everything is out of the school's pocket. I don't ask for $1. I don't ask for anything from the community. When they come to the event, if they want to buy food or they want to buy basket graphics, that kind of helps us offset the cost there. But that's kind of why I developed a community atmosphere, because I wanted a safe place for these kids to come and hang out and have a fun time, because it's not like when we were kids trick-or-treating to walk around house to house and neighborhood to neighborhood. All the street lights would be on, full bars of candy, things like that. Now it's not as safe for children to go around and do those types of things. So I don't want this generation to miss out on the things that I loved as a kid. Big plans coming up. I'm not sure about this first one. It's still kind of in the works, depending on what happens with some other events that are running locally. I want to run a summer bash where it's kind of like a little carnival for the kids down at the park, dunk tanks, bounce houses, all those types of things. A carnival for the kids to come hang out, where it's a kid event for them to come and have their own kind of place. Because, the other events, the Pierogi Festival does an awesome job here. But no offense, what children wants to come around and eat pierogies? Right. That's for us. Right. I'm going to hop from as many pierogi stands as I can, or ice cream stands like that. They may like them, but it's not exciting to them. They want to go on the bounce house. They want to do the dunk tank. They want cotton candy, snow cones. They want those things. Right. So that's one of the events that I want to do this year. may not happen this year. Most likely it'll happen next year. And then the other things I want to do is I want to do a turkey drive this year. I want to do a coat drive this year. Just give back to those who are in need, because a lot of it gets overlooked. A lot of those who are in need don't get what they need. And someone eventually needs to help them out. And I feel like I've taken that responsibility to try to extend my hand and help as many people as I can in a positive way. The other event that they do outside of here that I don't actually have any involvement, I shouldn't say I don't have any involvement in. They just use my building and I help out as much as I can, is Toys for Teens. They actually do, it's like Toys for Tots, but they do it for teenagers. Mm. And I think last year they did 75 or 80 teens were able to get 5 or 6 presents for Christmas that their families couldn't use. So they come here, they wrap all the presents here, they do everything here. So I'm a part of it, but I'm an outside voice in it right now. But I definitely want to get a little more part of that.
You also started a podcast, and that's helping out get the word out about things. Talk Absolutely. About your podcast a little bit.
So me and Chad Vale, we were talking a couple months ago about how there's so many people in this area that do good that get overlooked because they don't know someone or they're not a part of this group or this circle. And that's why we created NEPA Inspired. Little throw here. You can find that on Apple or Android or Podbean, anywhere of those things. I'll throw that little stitch in there. But so many of those people get overlooked. So that's why we developed it, to bring them in, let them talk about what they do, and get their name out there. A lot of them don't they do it because they're very humble and they're very under the radar, and I respect that. I don't always like talking about what I do in my career. I would rather talk about what my students do and what our school does than what me personally I do. But they come in, they open up, they tell us why they got it. They're the gut-wrenching, heart-wrenching stories, the tear-jerkers, and you really get a personal connection on these wonderful people aren't doing it for the recognition. They're doing it because they were in that situation or they were in that position and they feel the need to give back or help out.
Give us some information on where to find you, where to contact you, NEPA MMA work.
Definitely. Kind of stuff. You can find us on Facebook, NEPA Mixed Martial Arts. You can find us on NEPAMMA.com. Those are the 2 best ways to reach us. I would suggest call, but sometimes I'm in the middle of class right now with our limited staff that we have on the floor. Someone's not always able to answer the phone. So if you go on Facebook and message me on Facebook, I'm usually back to you within 20 minutes to 30 minutes, very quick that way. If you go to our website and opt in for more information, I'll actually be able to text you and we can have a conversation that way to figure out kind of if this is the place for you. Or stop by. We're at 681 Main Street in Edwardsville. If you can't find us, there's a school bus with our big logo and the big 10-foot panda. Probably gives it away there too. Just anyone that's stopping by, just come on in with a mask and we'll help you out and we'll find out if any of our programs are definitely right for you guys.
All right. Kyle Reed, NEPA MMA. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
That'll do it for this week's episode of NEPA SportsXtra. As always, give us a follow on Twitter and Facebook with our handle at NEPA SportsXtra. That is NEPA SportsXtra. And if you have a business you would like to get the word out about, or you would just like to contact us via email at nepasportsextra@gmail.com. And until next time, I am Dave Rosengrant, saying keep some extra time in your life for some sports in NEPA.